Hi, this is Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, and you're listening to Get Going with Guy, a conservative's guide to cutting through the propaganda of the woke left in the mainstream media, a podcast where hypocrisy has no home. Guys, as always, I'm going to give you the bottom line up front bluff. And here's the bottom line. Joe Biden is caving to pressure from radical congressional Democrats. And if you doubt me on this, just look at his position on Israel. As you know, Israel is facing an onslaught of rockets that are being launched by Hamas from the Gaza Strip. It's Hamas that has escalated this conflict. It's Hamas who started this conflict. And again, if you just look at the amount of rockets that are coming into Israel, if you look at the fact that the Israelis shot down a drone that was, by the way, an Iranian unarmed drone, it seems like it is Hamas and the Iranians that have started this and have escalated it, not the Israelis. And Biden actually kind of shared my position on this last week. I'll give you a quote. Biden said, "My expectation and hope is that this will be closing down sooner than later." That's what he said last week. He said that they did not see that Israel was overreacting at all, and he said that Israel had the right to self-defense. That was Biden's position last week. And by the way, that's the right position to have because Israel does have the right of self-defense, and they should continue to work to neutralize the threat that's coming from Hamas. Okay, so that's Biden last week. Then mid this week, Joe Biden changed his tune. And why is that? It's simple. It's because for 8 minutes, Congresswoman Tlaib dressed down Joe Biden in front of cameras for 8 minutes. And then she went on MSNBC and said, she said that Biden's taking orders from Benjamin Netanyahu. And she said, and I quote, "Enough, President Biden. You will not do it this way on our watch. You have to speak out against this violence in a very aggressive way that holds Netanyahu and his leadership accountable." So again, that's Tlaib dressing down Joe Biden in front of his face, in front of cameras, and then doubling down on that on MSNBC. And AOC on the floor added to Tlaib's criticism. She said, "This is not about both sides. This is about an imbalance of power. The president and many other figures this week stated that Israel has a right to self-defense. But do the Palestinians have a right to survive?" She continued this tweet saying that the United States should not rubber stamp weapon sales to the Israeli government as they deploy our resources to target international media outlets, schools, hospitals, humanitarian missions, and civilian sites for bombings. Those are the words of AOC. I'm going to tear that apart in a second, but I want you to take that into account when Joe Biden changed his tone and said midweek that he expects that there's a de-escalation today and a path to ceasefire. It seems to me that AOC, Tlaib, and the rest are really in charge of this party, not Joe Biden. And when it comes to AOC's remarks, when it comes to Tlaib's remarks, let's just say this. It's Hamas that is hiding in schools and hospitals. It's Hamas that is headquartered in the basement of a hospital. It's Hamas that puts its weapons cache in apartment buildings. And it's the Israelis who go out of their way to minimize civilian deaths. Additionally, I want to leave you with this. The Israeli military said that roughly 20% of Hamas rockets don't actually end up in Israel. They fall in the Gaza Strip. So maybe Tlaib, maybe AOC, maybe they should criticize Hamas for firing rockets into the area they control, killing Palestinians. All right, gang, that's enough for today. As always, just call me Guy.